everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of my incredible patrons. Once a month they vote on what commander that they want to see in an upcoming episode, and the commander that gets most votes wins. And the commander for this episode is Oskar Rubbish Reclaimer, a very cool commander. We're going to be talking about what this commander does, the strategy, how we're going to win with it, and the tactics around that as well. After we talk about the price of the commander and the deck itself, the price of the commander is incredibly cheap, just 23 cents, and the budget for this entire deck is very cheap as well. It's a 3/3 human wizard for 5 mana in total, but you're probably never going to pay that, basically anytime throughout the game. It is a Dimir commander that says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each different mana value among cards in your graveyard. So yeah, that can be a massive, massive, massive cost reduction for it. On top of that, though, whenever you discard a non-land card, you may cast it from your graveyard. That is huge. That is basically extra advantage of saying, oh, if you discard something, you get to play it. You basically just get to play it right away. You get to cast it if it's a non-land card, so it's kind of like you never discarded it. So our strategy for this deck is to discard cards freely and then cast them with additional benefits, because we do have some built-in ways in this deck to actually get extra value out of casting them from, well, not our hand or our graveyard, or basically, yeah, just, hey, casting them while we're discarding it. So yeah, a lot of extra value to be had there. Oh, when it comes to winning, though, well, we're going to punish our opponents with extreme draw and discard benefits. Yeah, we've got a lot of ways, again, to actually gain value, to gain an army, to gain some pain for our opponents by doing just what we want to do. When it comes to what we want to do as well, we want to build this deck on a budget, and it's incredibly budget-friendly, just $22 according to MTG Goldfish. You might even be able to find it cheaper than that. I think on Moxfield it showed up as like $13 or so. So yeah, depends on where you get it from. But basically a very budget-friendly deck. And if you're interested in it, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Let's jump into our tactics, though, starting off with one that really demonstrates what we want to do. Free discard outlets. Yeah, we want free things to discard. Aquamew is a great one. Discard a card, you swap its power and toughness. We really don't care with these discard outlets for the most part, like what they do. We just care that, oh, you just discard things for freely, which means that you can play that card you just discarded as if you didn't discard it, and then again get all the benefits you got from discarding it. Makes sense? Cabal Initiate, very simple, very effective. Discard it. Oh, okay, cool. Lifelink. Discard any card, give it lifelink. Lifelink really doesn't matter that much. Ghostly Pilferer. Hey, yeah, you can discard cards and make it unblockable. That's nice. When untapped, you can pay 2 to draw a card. On top of that, if your opponents are playing things from outside their hand like you are, well, you get to draw a bunch of cards for that. Olivia's Dragoon. Discard a card, give it flying, and then give it flying again, and then flying again just by discarding all the cards. You can do it the same turn, it doesn't matter. Cephalid Inkshrouder. Discard it and protect it. Basically give it Shroud as well as unblockability. Patrick Gnomes. Also discard and protect it by making it regenerate. Aeromoeba, discard a card, switch its power and toughness, and it's got flying too, sure. Hell Mongrel, we can actually pay its madness cost to actually get out cheaper if we need to. We can always discard a card to give it ++1 until end of turn, so it can actually hit pretty hard. Prognostic Sphinx, flying, discard a card, give it Hex from until turn, tap it, so a great way to protect it. On top of that, though, if we do get to attack with it, Scry 3, so some nice card selection there. Scourge Familiar, this one is huge. This is my favorite. Flying, discard a card, add a black mana. Basically, discard that card. Oh, cool, you get a free mana to help cast that card now, too. Moving on, though, to our next tactic, let's talk about some amazing looters, because these looters become so much better with this commander. Merfolk Looter, a great example. Basically where the term came from. Tap, draw a card, discard a card. Now it's basically just like tap, draw a card, and then play a card instead of like discarding it. Because again, you discard, you get to play the card. Magus of the Bazaar, tap, draw 2, discard 3. So yeah, draw 2 cards and get rid of 3 that you can then play. Thought Courier, again, basically Merfolk Looter. Tap, loot. Vohard is the exact same thing, but if you discard instant sorcery, you drain the opponent. Then also you can pay 2 and sacrifice this to recast something out of the graveyard. Bonded Fetch has haste. It's basically a looting effect as well. Cephalid Looter, tap, make someone actually loot. Obsessive Stitcher, you can loot with it. You can also actually reanimate a creature with it as well by sacrificing it. Cephalid Broker, tap, target player draws 2, discard 2. So again, basically loot 2. This is huge. Moving on to our next tactic, let's talk about even more ways to dig down into our deck. First up, Surge of Brilliance. A brilliant place to foretell this card, actually. Draw a card for each spell you've cast this turn from anywhere other than your hand, which counts all those juicy spells we're casting with our commander. Frantic Search, draw 2, discard 2, so basically loot 2. and it's for free because you untap 3 lands. Secrets of the Dead. This is massive. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, draw a card. Basically, now every single time you do the discard play on the graveyard, all of a sudden, draw with it too. Curator Mysteries, another great way to take advantage of all those discards. Cycle or discard another card, you scry 1. You can also cycle this away too. Forgotten Creation. This one is a great way to just repeatedly wheel. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. So yeah, cast those cards and also get a new hand. Laboratory Drudge. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. If you cast a spell from a graveyard, activate ability from a graveyard this turn. Against every single end step, not just your own, so keep that in mind for your opponent's turns. Osgood Operation Double. Basically get a token copy of this, which is nice. Both of them can tap for a colorless. Only to cast an artifact spell or activate ability to artifact, that's okay. What matters though is when you cast a spell from anywhere in your hand, you investigate, and keep in mind, you have 2 of these, so you can do that twice. 2 clues for the price of 1. River Kelpie though, another huge card. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield from a graveyard, draw a card. On top of that, a player casts a spell from a graveyard, draw a card. That counts not only you, but your opponents as well. A lot of card advantage to be had. Next up, let's move on to a tactic where we talk about draw triggers, because again, we're going to be drawing an absurd amount of cards once we get things set up properly. Emrakul's Messenger, a great way to take advantage of this. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn that you can sacrifice 4 mana to cast even more things. Mischievous Mystic, whenever we do the exact same thing again, draw a second card each turn, make a 1/1 Fairy Flying. So yeah, go wide. A lot of cards to be made, a lot of creatures to be made with this. Detective of the Month, Ascend. Yeah, we're going to get the City's Blessing in absolutely no time. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a 2/2 detective creature token. Ethereal Investigator, again, whenever you're drawing a second card, you're making a 1/1 spirit. Again, those evasive creatures with flying. On top of that, ETBs, get 3 clues. Why not? That's nice too. But the most punishing effect of all these is Psychosis Crawler. Yeah, really take advantage of all those draws. Power Toughest, each will number cards in your hand. On top of that, though, whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. Drain them a ton with all of your draw. Next up, some other triggers we can take advantage of, notably our discard triggers. With this one, the Raven Man. At the beginning of each end step, a player discard a card this turn. That's got to be us, guilty over here. Create a 1/1 Blackbird creature token with flying that can't block. Yeah, we don't really care about blocking too much. We care about just a massive army of flying birds. Speaking of flyers, though, Drake Haven. Wherever you discard a card, pay 1. If you do, make a 2/2 with flying. Yeah, you can make a lot of these very quickly. Faith of the Devoted. Yeah, just skip the flyers and actually just drain your opponents. Do the exact same thing. Each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life when you do so. Dying to Serve. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, make a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. Only triggers once each turn, but still, again, on your opponent's turns, it can trigger as well. So each trip around the table, that's 4 zombies, 8 power in total. Ominous Ruse, speaking of which, enters the battlefield. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, create a 1/1 Bluebird creature token with flying, and this creature can block only creatures with flying. Make a massive army in no time. Feast of Sanity, ping things down or ping your opponent's life totals down as well. Discard a card, 1 damage to any target, and you gain 1 life. Skeleton Crew, each other creature control that's a skeleton or pirate gets ++1, which is quite nice because, well, you're going to be making a lot of those. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black skeleton creature token. You also bring this back from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped if you need to as well. Soul Intervention, though, when it enters the battlefield, target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn, and you can flash this in, which is lovely. That being said, though, whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Yeah, creature cards are going to be leaving the graveyard here, there, and everywhere. Finally, though, Cadaver Lab on the right side, though, for a single mana. When you unlock this door, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Speaking of creature cards leaving the graveyard, that being said, the other room, though, Defiled Crypt, whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black horror enchantment creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Again, with each trip around the table, though, that can be up to 4, which can be massive. Next up, though, let's talk about our removal tactic, where we're talking about throwing a wrench to our opponent's plans. Alchemist Retrieval can be a great card, either to save one of our things for 1 mana, or to bounce one of our opponent's things for 2 mana. Geist Wave, 2 mana, though, all the time, but if we bounce one of our own things, we draw a card. Unauthorized Exit, bounce any non-land permanent. Whatever you bounce, though, you get to surveil once, so some nice card selection there. Nev's Disc, enters the battlefield, tap, pay 1 tap. Panic button, destroy artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Volrath's Dungeon, this thing is brutal. First of all, any player can pay 5 during their turn to destroy it. So yeah, an opponent might want to do that at some point, because if they don't, well, they're never going to do anything with their deck. That being said, choosing to discard a card, target player chooses a card in their hand, puts that card on top of their library, only is a sorcery, so essentially you get this in play and you just destroy someone. You take out your hand, but you actually get to, again, play those cards still thanks to your commander, and then your opponent takes all the cards from their hand that you forced them to do so with, put them on top of their library, and yeah, just basically mind lock them out of the game. Wash out, bounce all permanents of the color of your choice to the owner's hands. Aether Gale, 5 mana, bounce 6 things, very effective, very efficient. Mystic Confluence, speaking of efficient, speaking of flexible, choose 3, choose save more than once. Counter a spell, say pay 3, bounce a creature or draw a card, any combination of those. All-Seeing Arbiter, this is huge. Enters the battlefield or attacks, draw 2, discard a card. So again, a great discard outlet for us. On top of that though, discard a card. Target creature opponent controls gets -X/-0 until your end of turn, where X is the number of different mana values among cards in your graveyard. So basically, hey, shut that creature down because I've got so many things in my graveyard, it doesn't matter. Butcher of Malakir, though, speaking of shutting things down, we've got a lot of ways to make a lot of tokens, a lot of creatures. Whenever anything dies, any of our creatures die, each month sacrifice a creature. So yeah, they're going to be wiped out in no time. Moving on, though, let's talk about how we're going to play all these amazing cards. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble with our ramp package. Pay 2, tap, sacrifice, get it basically into play tapped. Everflowing Chalice, very flexible mana rack. Pay 2, taps for 1, pay 4, taps for 2, etc., etc. Charcoal Diamond enters battlefield, taps for a black mana. Sky Diamond is the exact same thing, but for a blue mana. Then we've got Demir's Signet. Our Signet, pay 1 into it, tap, and it filters our mana. Then we've got Mindstone, taps for a coaster, pay 1, tap, sacrifice, draw a card. Dreamscape Artist is a very good one for this deck. Pay 3, tap, discard a card, and again, you can utilize that discard to your advantage with your commander, and sacrifice 1 land, go get 2 basic lands into play, and all of a sudden, you shuffle your library. Basically, Harrow on a stick. Next up, though, we got Prismatic Lens, taps for a color, or pay 1 to tap and filter our mana. Moving on, Heraldic Banner, artifact for 3, enters, choose a color, taps for that color, but also pumps our creatures of that color +1/+0. So again, go wide with creatures and make them larger. Patrician Guest, though, this one is huge for us, a 2/2. Pumps our spirits, which is lovely. Flying. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 1 less to cast, so now by discarding a card, we make them cheaper to cast. Even cheaper, though, Sage of the Beyond. 5/5 flyer. Spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast, which of course counts those cards we discard with our commander to play. So yeah, a massive savings there. And a very efficient mana rock here with Worn Power Stone. Cost 3 battlefield, taps for 2. A lot of great things in this ramp package. Finally, though, let's talk about a great land that I want to highlight with Cephalid Coliseum. Taps for a blue, 1 damage just. Oh no, you're at 40. That's okay. All right, you're in commander. It's all right, not a big deal. Pay a blue, though. If you have threshold, tap, sacrifice. The target player draws 3, discards 3. And again, keep in mind, we can take advantage of those discards and play those cards still. So do so. And yeah, utilize this card to great effect. Overall, though, this commander is a ton of fun and very underrated. You can do a lot of exciting things. Again, discard cards freely throughout the game. Discard cards with different effects throughout the game. Get a lot of value out of them still play them and take advantage of those draws. Take advantage of the discards. Take advantage of casting spells from elsewhere and decimate your opponents. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.